Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Anthony, and today we're taking a look at Orebody Binder's Tale, a retro-style run-and-gun platformer by Orebody Incorporated. I know I've said it before, but it bears repeating. Please do not name your company after your first game. It really limits your image going forward. Before we begin, do you have any modern retro carts in your collection? Let me know in the comments down below, and then let's dive in. In Orebody, you'll take control of the eponymous Binder, a small robot whose human friend, Fargle, is killed by the robotic hordes of the Fold. Thus, Binder sets out on a mission of revenge as a one-bot army to travel to the floating city of Gallenstad and dismantle the entirety of the Fold. As you begin Orebody, the controls and gameplay are quite basic. You'll be able to move and jump freely, as well as shoot in 3 directions. Occasionally, you'll come across these flying storage containers. Shoot one down, and you'll be able to pick up an alternate weapon. Your basic weapon straightforwardly shoots straight forward. However, you'll be able to find a boomerang weapon which hits enemies on a return path, a splitting bullet that turns into 2 perpendicular attacks at the end of its path, a laser that has better range and a slightly faster firing rate, and a double shot that fires both straight and at a 45-degree angle simultaneously. Out of these, I really only found the laser and the double shot to be useful. The latter makes some enemies, especially bosses, a lot easier to get at. If you're ever hit, you'll lose a life. If you have any remaining, you'll respawn immediately, but you'll be back to your default weapon. You also gain an extra life for every 30 enemies you defeat, so it's often better to fight your way through rather than just dodging them. In each of Orebody's 5 levels, you'll have 2 or more boss fights spaced throughout. These are typically the best part of the game, and learning their patterns is a fun challenge. Each of them plays completely differently from one another, and only one of them is reused as a standard enemy later in the game. After completing a level, Binder will gain a new ability. This includes a slide, which lets him move forward while ducking, a double jump, and eventually a mid-air slide. The latter 2 are made use of for some platforming segments in the later levels, and while this sounds like a good idea on paper, the execution leaves something to be desired, especially for the air slide. Since they're doing everything with 2 main buttons for a genuine NES feel, you activate the air slide by holding up and hitting jump. However, if you're holding any other button at that time, such as holding forward to control your direction before or after the slide, it won't register. The platforming challenges are much simpler than similar tasks that I've done in other games recently, but this little caveat has made them far more difficult than they really should have been. If you're defeated, you're sent back to the beginning of the level and may try again as often as you'd like. If you're playing the Steam version of the game, you do have access to save states. At first I avoided using these, but as stages grew longer and longer, I eventually decided to go ahead and save after each mid-boss and restore my game thereafter. In addition to the game's main mode, you also have a boss rush mode, which is just what it sounds like. Go through all the bosses in order armed with only your basic weapon, and see if you can manage to survive against all of them in a single run. You also have a sound test mode where you can freely listen to the game's soundtrack if you so desire. Presentation-wise, the game looks and sounds good. As aforementioned, it was designed for genuine NES hardware, so this follows all the limitations thereof, including a limit of 4 colors per sprite and noticeable slowdown when too many sprites are on screen at once. There is a bit of a story beyond what I gave, and Binder will talk to each boss before fighting them, but it's really not enough to go into a spoiler section. But there's definitely more there than your average NES platformer. If you're playing the Steam version of the game, you'll also have access to the puzzle game Sand Ripples. I know I've joked about spawns of Sokoban in the past, but this one absolutely feels like a Sokoban clone. You need to push boxes around. In some levels, you're merely pushing them into the holes and have to get rid of all the boxes in order to go to the next level. Other times, you'll need to collect these gems, usually hidden behind gaps that you need to fill in with the boxes in the right order. It's a fun, albeit rather short, little distraction. All in all, Orebody isn't bad. Being designed to run on actual NES hardware will definitely make retro purists happy, although it does in some ways feel like a more primitive NES game. For the most part, the controls are fine, and I never had a problem with them in combat, but the more intricate platforming sections definitely showed how finicky the air dash could be, and definitely would have benefited from being smoother. The boss fights are certainly the strongest part of the game, and there's a good bit of variety with more than a dozen unique bosses to fight against, and they never feel unfair. While some are certainly harder than others, they all have patterns you can learn and overcome. Is it a great game? No, but I can't say I regret playing it either. It certainly has its shortcomings, but it also finds its strengths as well. In conclusion, I find Orebody Binder's Tale to be worthy of a solid 7.1 out of 10. Orebody is currently available for PC via Steam. The NES carts are currently out of stock, but they may do another print run in the future. If you're interested in purchasing or learning more, links are included in the description. But what about you? What do you think of Orebody? What authentic retro titles do you enjoy? Have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view? Leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.